So next month we have the 20th anniversary for the Xbox brand, and I think over the next few weeks, I'm gonna be doing some videos on some of the older systems for Microsoft and some things that I'm sure will be tapping into nostalgia heavily. And nothing like today will be doing that because we're gonna take a look at this Xbox 360. I found it on eBay and there is a problem with it, so hopefully we can remedy that situation because this is an Xbox 360 that still has the Blade UI on it. And if you were around when the 360 first came out, prepare yourself for ridiculous amounts of nostalgia. Guys, if you enjoyed these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton. And if you're new to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. So first things first, I did pick this Xbox 360 up on eBay. It was advertised to have the Blade UI still installed on it. And we can see here, it has a little sticker that at least points out the manufacturing for this Xbox 360, that being November 14th, 2007. I think in 2008, I feel like towards the end of that, they started to go away from the Blade UI and they went all kinds of other stuff that was obviously an improvement in some ways, but in other ways, the Blade UI is looked back on so fondly for a couple of reasons. And then we also have, looks like the date and maybe the person who was checking it out and seeing what was wrong with it, which the good news is the problem with this Xbox 360 is the disk drive, which much better than if it was just a red ring, because that would be a bit of a problem overall for this system. Although I guess then it'd be difficult to tell if it has the Blade UI on it. And there we have it, our Blade UI that I have not seen in person in a long time. They changed the UI itself several times as they went through the Xbox 360's life. And unfortunately for me, I noticed it getting slower and slower and slower as they did it. Obviously, they were trying to pack in way more features, whereas with the Blade UI, they were much more, I would say, gaming focused. It didn't go as far into the media side of things until like midway through the Xbox 360's life. And then, well, we saw how the Xbox One life started. But I mean, let's just take a look here at the Blade system. Let's navigate around a bit. Get the marketplace. And the thing I really liked about the Blade system is very colorful. Like you start with the marketplace here, nice like reddish orange. They have the sign in, join Xbox Live, recover your gamer tag. They have demos, of course, which was a big deal. When this system first came out, you took it home, you had a couple of games to pick from, but then you went on the marketplace and you just started downloading demo after demo after demo, whatever was available, just to try out your new system. Then we have the Xbox Live, which goes to like this yellow, and we have an open tray here, which the tray does not open. Okay, that was kind of expected though, because the disk drive is an issue, and we're gonna try to fix that to get this 100% working. Then we have games, media, and system. Like I said, it's very colorful. You go purple, blue, green, yellow, this like reddish orange kind of, then back to purple with the system. So I do like how well the colors just pop off the screen, whereas when we got to midway through the Xbox 360's life and they were really changing things up, it was basically just a lot of like this lightish green all over the place. But the best part about this is just how fast the UI is compared to the later dashboards that we had with the Xbox 360. I mean, you can go from left to right, marketplace, Xbox Live, games, media, and then system very, very quickly. There's not as many features here, obviously, as they were introducing more and more as they went along, but there's just something nice about being able to just scroll through everything at a rapid pace without any real stuttering. Then of course, pressing the guide button brings in the Blade from the left, where you have your sign in, creating profile, recover your gamer tag, and then you had controls for music, so you could go through and pick out different tracks that you have saved or just put a disc in and do that. Some games would of course allow you to play tracks that you've saved or just music CDs in general, but the Blade from the left here would also pop in when you were downloading something back then when the 360 first came out and you weren't able to do anything else. That Blade had to stay up. It actually wasn't until a little later on that they gave you the ability to do downloads in the background, and that was actually a big deal when they introduced that. And then of course this gray Blade would also allow you to go from the game you're playing back to the home screen or the dashboard by pressing Y, and you would get this fun little animation of the blades kind of forming, coming out at you and then popping up. I also like going back through some of the settings here where we have references to Windows XP or Media Center PC, or remember Xbox Live Vision? Yeah, that worked out with games like Uno. But I will admit, looking at the Blade UI, there's certainly quite a bit of nostalgia here for me kind of fogging up what is obviously a UI that can be condensed pretty easily. Like, I mean, if you look at it, we have the Xbox Live tab is just create profile at the top and join Xbox Live, recover gamer tag from Xbox Live. I know if you sign in, this changes up a little bit. I'm obviously not gonna connect this to the internet, but then if you go to like games, you have your create profile button at the top there that would have otherwise been your gamer tag. And then you have Xbox Live Arcade, demos, and more. And then over here, you just have music, pictures, video with that same exact button at the top. So clearly they thought, okay, we could just take a lot of these options and kind of condense them down, specifically like the marketplace and Xbox Live, and then probably games all into one tab. So now we're gonna see the extent of the damage here to our Xbox 360. Unfortunately, it seems to be running well enough. I didn't put a game in yet. I think when I do, I'm just gonna put like Halo 2 from the original Xbox in. I don't wanna have it update. I could probably also use like Cameo or Condemned. I'm just mostly thinking back to like the first year of Xbox 360 games, like Call of Duty 2. My luck, I put the wrong disc in it and it tries to update itself. I don't have a hard drive or any kind of storage medium installed on it, so that would probably stop it from doing so. But like I said, just to be safe, I'm gonna use a game from essentially the first year or even the original Xbox when I'm testing it. So the first thing we've been able to determine here is that the disk drive does not want to open. We've dealt with this before here on the channel. We're gonna take a look at the drive itself and just see if the belt inside needs to be cleaned. I'm more thinking about the laser itself and how that may not be working, and we'll find out more about that after we, of course, get it open and have the disk drive open and close correctly. The system itself is also extremely sticky. It's certainly been put through the ringer, and especially something like this where you have a Blade Xbox 360 UI with an HDMI port on the back. That's very uncommon. We have some other good news. It looks like the warranty seal has not been broken yet, which tells me it hasn't at least been tampered yet, so we have a pretty good chance of being able to fix this. So while I'm taking this apart, let's quickly talk about why the Blade system has been sought after for a while. I think it's died down a little bit though recently because of the advancements that were made in the modding scene for the 360. But for a while, if you had the correct dashboard, which is basically just an older dashboard like with the Blade system, you could JTAG the system and basically open it up to all kinds of unsigned code. And that's how you saw people doing different things when it came to soft modding these 360s. However, at this time, you can get like mod chips and stuff, put them inside of even the slim Xbox 360 systems, which appears to be the preferred method because they're much more reliable than these Xbox 360s. So as expected, the X clamps are still on. That's good news. Again, nothing's really been tampered with inside. Nothing's more annoying than going into one of these systems and seeing all kinds of screws and washers that have been torqued completely through the board, bending it all up and doing all kinds of stuff. So from what I can tell, this thing is just completely stock. And moment of truth, let's see how the inside looks. How dirty is it? You know what? I gotta admit, I'm a little shocked right now. I thought we were about to see all kinds of dust bunnies and madness in here. Other than a piece of plastic, not much. It actually looks fine. In fact, this has the upgraded cooler that they ended up installing after the launch 360s. It's like this large aluminum block. And they also have the better GPU heatsink with kind of the copper pipe that comes up here with another set of fins. So from what I'm seeing, this looks pretty good. But this is our main culprit, the disk drive. It is a BenQ disk drive for the 360. Couple of Phillips head screws on the bottom. We can get a look at the laser. And you know what? It also looks pretty good. We have our laser, the spindle, little arm that moves that guy back and forth, motherboard underneath of here. Up in the front is where we probably have our problem, and that is, once again, this little rubber band right here that's wrapped around these two wheels, the motor being down here, that spins, and as this turns, you see the gear moves left and right, depending on if it needs to open or close. There is a latch also in the front that then stops, and then as it closes, it kicks the tray back up. So all we really need to do is just clean right in here, the one spot in the system that is susceptible to dust, and this is where it gets to. I mean, really, the whole system looks pretty good for being from 2007, and it's just this one little rubber band that couldn't take a little bit of dust. Okay, so disk drive back in, systems on, plugged in the controller. I changed my mind though on the game because I went ahead and just double checked Halo 3 should not update this system from the Blade UI, so we should be good, and I wanted to test an Xbox 360 game anyway with this laser. I also left the lid off here, which you can see, because I thought it'd be interesting, give you guys a perspective of what the laser's doing while things are happening on screen. So I pulled the magnet or the piece of metal out of the lid there, so we can kind of just leave this open while it's trying to work and read the laser. Also, that'll give us an idea as to what may be wrong with the laser if there is a problem. The disk drive kicks right out now, so that's great since that was one of the obvious problems we had. Put the magnet on, and we'll see if it spins and reads. You can actually see the little red dot right there. I don't know if that's coming up on camera, but you should see the you should see the laser just start to jump all over the place. Should spin up, and there it goes. So this shouldn't try to update it. At least it better not. Okay, Halo 3. Very good. So, yeah, it does appear that I guess the problem was just that the tray itself was stuck. Because it's loading up no problem here. Go to start solo campaign. Just use a temporary profile. There we go. We'll just go just in like that. Make sure it loads into a level. And I think we're going to have a good working Blade UI Xbox 360. Now, I still have to put it together and test to make sure that the drive is able to kick out when the disk drive itself is enclosed in that metal. But the fact that it kicked out so well here and it seems to be reading no problem, I think we're in good shape. And there we have it. Seems to be working fine, loaded up, no problem. And now we're into Halo 3. The system itself, the fan, is not very loud. I mean, the disk drive itself, you can hear it's very loud. In fact, it creates a lot of air, by the way. That's something people don't realize, is that this is almost its own fan when it's spinning as fast for the system. The heatsink here is not bad. GPU heatsink is fine. There is one last thing I want to look for here, and I recommend it if you are working on one of these Xbox 360s, and that has to do with the laser being able to reset itself to the middle. One thing people don't realize is sometimes the Xbox 360 will actually have issues with the arm on the far side that's supposed to move the laser, and the laser will get stuck all the way out in like no man's land where it can't even see the disc. You have to go in and kind of just give it a nudge. But if we take the laser, we move it all the way back here. This is where it would be stuck and it wouldn't be able to see the disc when you pop it in. The idea is we should open this, close it, and the laser should run all the way back, run into this, then stop just shy of it. So let's just make sure it can detect that. Yep. So you see it moves all the way back to the middle. Sometimes you'll just have it so it can't quite push it off of the edge and it'll just be stuck out here and just won't be able to see the disc. Also, something kind of funny about these drives is the way that Microsoft almost holds the magnet in. The piece of metal here that then clamps down, you just saw, is with this big sticker. If you cut around that circle, it like opens up a flap almost. Here's the magnet with the plastic on this side that hits the spindle. And then here's the flap. It just sort of sits up there, and there's your magnet. You have to twist it so that it pops out because it kind of clamps around this metal. It's just sort of funny that they didn't actually adhere this down. They just slapped the big BenQ sticker on it. And I'll admit at this point, there's really no reason to go out and try to find a Blade system. There used to be a reason with the modding scene, but it's just progressed so far that you can essentially install a mod chip and do all kinds of stuff to even current Xbox 360s, relatively newer ones. So this is certainly more of a nostalgia thing. For any of us who was there back in 2005, even 2006, as this one, I mean, it's up to 2007, who remembers the Blade system and kind of how things started for Microsoft being that big push into their next-gen system at the time with the Xbox 360. It was a pretty cool time. Really, it was. I know the 360 is technically, I mean, retro now, but as we're kind of looking back on 20 years of the Xbox, it's good to remember where they came from. I know it wasn't very popular for them last generation with the Xbox One, but Microsoft did a lot of really cool things during this Xbox 360 generation. And I'm hoping that as we go through this Xbox Series generation, they continue to do some really cool stuff when it comes to online and the system hardware itself. And with the system back on, we'll just double check to make sure the disk drive itself opens up, specifically when standing up, because that's usually when it would get stuck the most. Hit the eject button, kicks out with purpose, closes right up as well. So everything looks good here now with the system, minus the outside. It certainly needs to be cleaned up a bit. I don't want to change the shell out really because it has like the manufacturing date, serial number, all that on the back there. But I do believe that most of these markings and kind of like the sticker residue will come off with some cleaning. But let me know what you guys think about this Blade UI system here, or maybe your own memories of the Xbox 360 when it first came out and you got a chance to use it. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.